Why has the industrial food system hidden a bird that matures in 6 weeks, fits 4 to a square foot, and produces a super AG that astronauts eat in space? There is a specific mechanical reason why you cannot buy this meat in a supermarket. A processing error forced the industry to abandon the most efficient protein source on Earth: the wait time crisis. Every new chicken keeper faces the same invisible wall, the feed pit. For 24 weeks, half a year, feed goes in and nothing comes out. No eggs, no return, just a daily ritual of scooping feed, pouring dollars into a ledger that never pays back. The stat: a single pullet eats through 20 pounds of feed before she lays her first egg. At today's prices, that's $11 to $14 per bird, multiplied by every hen in the flock. The cost ticks upward day after day with no offset. For a backyard flock of 6, that's over $70 sunk before a single breakfast is earned. The ledger tells the story. Week 1, 0 eggs. Week 10, 0 eggs. Week 18, 0 eggs. The months drag on. Feed bills stack up. The only thing growing is the sense of waiting. For commercial growers, the stakes are even higher. Multiply the feed pit across thousands of birds, and the numbers balloon into the tens of thousands. Money tied up, risk compounding with every delivery. The catch is this: every dollar spent in the feed pit is a dollar that cannot be recovered until the very first egg drops, and even then, the payback is slow. For small-scale keepers, this wait time can make or break the dream of self-sufficiency. No shortcuts, no early rewards, just 6 months of patience and faith. But what if there were a way out of the feed pit? What if a different bird could flip the ledger, turning months of waiting into weeks? The answer starts with speed and a species that rewrites the timeline. The reveal. The bird that rewrites the ledger is Coturnix japonica, the domesticated Japanese quail. Where chickens wait half a year to pay off their feed, Coturnix quail start laying at just 6 to 8 weeks old. By the time a standard hen finally delivers her first egg, a single quail hen has already produced close to 100. That is not a typo. 100 eggs before a chicken even gets started. Coturnix are not the wild bobwhite you might flush from a field. These are compact, docile birds, bred over centuries in Japan for their speed and reliability. A mature Coturnix weighs just 4 to 6 ounces, but packs a full year's worth of productivity into a single bright season. Extension poultry specialists call them the fastest maturing egg layer in the world. As one advisor says, Coturnix mature at 42 days, ideal for small flocks. This compressed timeline means the feed pit is almost erased. A backyard keeper who starts with quail sees eggs in the first 2 months. The math is simple. A chicken flock burns through 20 pounds of feed and 6 months of waiting for that first omelet. A Coturnix hen by week 8 has already laid enough eggs to fill a quart jar and keeps going, averaging 250 to 300 eggs per year, rivaling the best commercial layers. The stat: Coturnix quail lay their first egg at 6 to 8 weeks. By week 24, each hen has produced nearly 100 eggs. The chicken? Just 1. Curiosity bridge. If speed is the first surprise, the next is scale. How much space does it take to turn a handful of quail into a mountain of eggs? The square foot math. Every backyard flock keeper knows the rule. 1 chicken, 4 square feet. That's the gold standard for spacing. Enough room to scratch, dust bathe, and avoid pecking fights. Multiply that out, and a small flock of 6 hens claims 24 square feet, about the size of a full dining table. Now, here is where the numbers flip the script. Coturnix quail need just 1/4 of a square foot per bird. 4 quail fit comfortably in the same space as a single chicken, each with enough room to move, eat, and lay. The stat: 4 to 1. 1 chicken, 4 square feet, 4 quail, 1 square foot. Backyard stocking guidelines from Extension Services confirm it. Quail thrive at densities that would send chickens into a frenzy. Their compact bodies, calm temperament, and lower aggression mean you can house a dozen birds in a space that for chickens would barely fit 3. This is not theoretical. Urban keepers and homesteaders stack quail cages on shelves, turning a closet or corner of a garage into an egg factory. The real estate saving is immediate and dramatic. Where a chicken coop sprawls, a quail setup shrinks down to a bucket-sized footprint. The benefit: space efficiency is not just about fitting more birds, it is about making poultry possible for people with no backyard at all. Apartment dwellers, homeowners under HOA rules, and city renters suddenly have a path to fresh eggs. Curiosity bridge. If quail compress the floor plan, what happens when you add a second, third, or even fifth layer? The logic of vertical stacking is about to change everything. Vertical multiplier. The real secret to quail density isn't just on the floor, it's in the air. Stack the cages, and suddenly the math goes exponential. 4 quail per square foot multiplied by 4 or 5 tiers means 16 to 20 birds thriving in the same footprint as a single chicken. On a standard garage shelf or a 2-foot by 2-foot rack, a homesteader can house a flock that would require an entire coop if they were chickens. One urban keeper in Portland swapped out 6 noisy hens for a rack of 20 quail. The setup was 5 layers of wire cages, each with its own feed and water line, perched above a plastic catch tray. The entire flock fits where a single laundry basket would sit. Every day, the routine is the same: 10 minutes to collect eggs, top up feed, and check water. The birds remain calm, even with neighbors just feet away, and the homeowners association never complains. Quail adapt naturally to stacked living. In the wild, they cluster close for safety. In cages, they settle into small groups, each with enough room to move and lay, but never enough space to trigger the pecking and stress seen in overcrowded chickens. Extension specialists confirm that quail can be stocked at 1 per quarter of a square foot without health or behavior problems, as long as ventilation and cleanliness are maintained. The stat: a 5-tier rack, 2 foot by 2 foot, holds 20 quail, enough to supply a family with eggs year-round, all from a footprint smaller than a kitchen chair. Curiosity bridge. But just how many eggs does this microflock produce in a year? The answer flips the backyard math on its head. The 300 egg stat. When it comes to sheer numbers, Coturnix quail don't just sprint ahead, they keep pace all year long. A single Coturnix hen produces between 250 and 300 eggs per year, matching the output of the world's best laying chickens. But here is where the timeline warps. Quail hit that number months sooner. By the time a chicken finally reaches her first dozen eggs, the quail has already stacked up 100, and she does not slow down. Over a full year, a 5-tier rack of 20 quail can deliver 5,000 to 6,000 eggs, enough to fill a refrigerator, a market stand, or the breakfast table of an entire apartment building. Chickens might win on egg size, but quail win on frequency. Each tiny egg weighs about 1/5 of a chicken egg, but the daily harvest never lets up. The math is relentless. 4 quail in the space of a single hen can lay over 1,000 eggs a year. For small-scale keepers, that means more meals, more sales, and more options without the weight, the wasted space, or the feed pit. Curiosity bridge. If quantity is no longer the question, what about quality? Not all eggs are created equal. Next comes the nutrition showdown. Superfood nutrition. Not all eggs are created equal. Quail eggs pack more into every ounce than their larger cousins, and it starts with the yolk. The stat: Coturnix quail eggs have a yolk to white ratio of about 55 to 45 compared to the chicken's 30 to 70. More yolk means more nutrition, dense, golden, and loaded with the essentials most people miss. USDA food tables confirm the difference. Measured by weight, quail eggs contain nearly double the vitamin B12 of chicken eggs, 2.5 micrograms per 100 grams versus 1.1 micrograms. Folate, the nutrient vital for cell growth and brain health, clocks in at 66 micrograms per 100 grams in quail eggs compared to 47 micrograms in chicken. The stat: one quail egg delivers a full day's B12 for a child and a healthy dose for adults. It doesn't stop at B vitamins. The higher yolk content boosts iron, riboflavin, and healthy fats, while the compact size makes portioning easy for snacks, pickling, or gourmet plates. Some call them nutrient bombs, small but packed with what matters. For homesteaders and urban keepers, the nutrition edge isn't just about numbers, it is about value. Every egg harvested from a microflock is a concentrated source of fuel, not just filler. Curiosity bridge. If the nutrition inside the shell is this impressive, what happens when rare genetics enter the mix? The next surprise comes in blue. The mutation. Every so often, a genetic wildcard rewrites the rules of the flock. In Coturnix quail, that wildcard is the Celadon gene, a natural twist that turns ordinary speckled eggs a vivid robin's egg blue. The stat. On today's market, a standard Coturnix egg sells for 25 cents, but a Celadon hatching egg fetches $1 or more. That is a fourfold premium, driven not by size or nutrition, but by rarity and demand. Breeders scramble to isolate the trait, knowing a single Celadon hen can double their revenue overnight. One Texas breeder puts it this way: Celadon doubled my income. $1 a hatching egg, easy. They are sold out before they are laid. The secret is not just the color, it is the speed. With Coturnix maturing in 6 weeks and hatching in just 17 days, a keeper can scale up a Celadon line in a single season. The cycle is relentless. Collect, incubate, hatch, and sell, all before a chicken pullet even warms her first nest box. Chefs and home cooks snap up blue eggs for pickling jars and gourmet plates, chasing the novelty that turns a breakfast into a conversation piece. The premium holds steady on Etsy, Facebook, and farmers markets. Celadon eggs move fast, often with waiting lists. The revenue path is clear: rare genetics, rapid turnover, and a market hungry for something different. But even with blue eggs flying off the shelves, the real magic is in how quickly those eggs become the next generation. The secret to quail's explosive growth lies in the world's fastest incubation clock. 17-day incubation cycle. The clock runs differently for Coturnix quail. The stat is 17 days from egg to hatch. That is 4 days faster than a chicken, but the real shock comes with the cycle speed. In the time it takes a single chicken egg to turn into a laying hen, about 6 months, a quail flock can complete 5 full generations. It starts with a clutch of speckled or blue Celadon eggs set in a tabletop incubator warmed to 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. 17 days later, the first chicks pip through their shells, dry off, and within hours are eating and moving. By week 6, those same chicks are laying eggs of their own. The cycle, egg-to-egg layer in under 60 days, repeats again and again. This compressed generation turnover lets a backyard keeper scale up at a pace that chickens cannot touch. Want to double your flock? Set eggs this week, hatch in 2.5 weeks, and have new layers in 6 more weeks. For breeders chasing rare traits like Celadon blue eggs, the 17-day clock means you can select, hatch, and multiply winners in a single season, not a whole year. The rapid pace slashes the time between idea and result, turning breeding from a slow-motion project into a real-time experiment. The fix is this: rapid incubation does not just mean more birds faster, it means more harvests, more often. For small-scale keepers, every cycle is a fresh start, with no long bottlenecks or wasted months. Curiosity bridge. If every 2 months brings a new flock, how easy is it to turn those birds into food? The answer lies in the processing room, where quail flip the script on poultry harvest. Scissor harvest. For most backyard keepers, the hardest part of raising poultry isn't the daily chores, it's the harvest. Chickens bring a mental wall. The process is messy, drawn out, and often feels industrial. The stat: processing a single chicken, start to finish, takes 15 to 20 minutes, even for experienced hands. There is scalding, plucking, and gutting, each step a hurdle, each tool specialized and intimidating. For many, this is the point where dreams of homegrown meat stall out. The tool: a simple pair of kitchen shears. With Coturnix quail, the harvest flips from ordeal to routine. The workflow is direct. Pick up the bird, a quick snip at the neck, and the hardest part is over. No scalding tank, no feather plucker, no heavy-duty knives. Skin peels away in seconds, leaving a clean carcass ready for the kitchen. The entire process, start to finish, takes 2 to 3 minutes per bird. A small flock can be processed in the time it takes to deal with a single chicken. The edge is psychological ease. The small size and gentle nature of Coturnix quail make the task less daunting, even for first-timers. There is less blood, less struggle, and no need for industrial-scale gear. USDA-inspected small processors demonstrate the method: scissors, a bucket, and a clean workspace. The labor drops, the stress drops, and the barrier to self-sufficiency comes down. For homesteaders, this is more than a convenience. It is a liberation from the machinery and complexity that define chicken processing. Curiosity bridge. If the harvest is this simple, what about the inputs? The next question is feed. How does the quail's diet stack up against the chicken, and what does it mean for cost and nutrition? High-octane feed. The stat: Coturnix quail demand a feed with 24 to 30% protein, nearly double what chickens require. Standard layer pellets, the kind you would buy for hens, will not cut it. Coturnix are built for speed, and that engine runs hot. Without a high-protein game bird or turkey starter, growth stalls, egg production drops, and health problems creep in. Extension bulletins spell it out. 24 to 28% protein is the minimum for chicks, with some keepers pushing to 30% for rapid early growth. The price per bag is higher, often 50 cents a pound or more, but the payoff is relentless output. The catch: this protein premium is a reality check for anyone eyeing quail as a shortcut to cheap eggs. The math is clear. A Coturnix hen will convert feed to eggs with ruthless efficiency, but only if the diet matches her biology. Cut corners, and the flock lets you know. Smaller eggs, weaker shells, and a slump in laying can take weeks to recover. There is no such thing as a bargain feed for quail. The cost savings come from speed, not shortcuts. The upside: every ounce of high-octane feed that goes in comes back out as eggs, meat, or manure, each with a value of its own. The protein you buy today becomes tomorrow's harvest. But there is a side effect to this input. What goes in must come out, and Coturnix manure is a force. Curiosity bridge. What happens when all that concentrated protein leaves the bird? The answer lies in the garden, where quail waste powers a new kind of fertility, and a warning about nitrogen burn is just around the corner. Hot manure. The hidden engine behind every quail flock is not just the egg basket or the meat yield, it is the manure tray. Coturnix quail convert high-octane feed into a concentrated waste stream that is far more potent than anything a chicken leaves behind. The stat is this: quail manure runs at 4 to 5% nitrogen, nearly double the strength of chicken droppings. For gardeners, that means a single week's worth of quail waste can turn a compost pile into rocket fuel for tomatoes, squash, or greens. But there is a catch. This is what composters call hot manure. Use it fresh, and the nitrogen surge will burn tender roots, yellow leaves, and halt growth in its tracks. A seasoned compost practitioner, like those found in urban homesteader circles, will always warn: never apply quail manure straight to the garden. The fix is patience and carbon. Mix droppings with straw, wood shavings, or dried leaves, then let the pile heat up and break down for 4 to 6 weeks. During this time, microbes work overtime, balancing the carbon to nitrogen ratio and transforming raw waste into black, crumbly compost that is safe for any bed. The timeline is short, but skipping it means risking a ruined crop. Even a handful of fresh quail manure, spread under a tomato plant, can scorch the stem by morning. The benefit is clear. After a month in the bin, quail compost becomes a premium fertilizer, rich enough to replace synthetic blends and gentle enough for seedlings. For small-scale keepers, this turns every tray clean-out into a resource, not a chore. The waste that once piled up now powers the next harvest, closing the loop between coop and kitchen. Curiosity bridge. If the manure is this powerful, what about the birds themselves? Disease resistance, health, and the science behind quail's hardy reputation are up next. Salmonella edge. For anyone raising poultry, health is always in the background, especially when it comes to eggs. The stat: Coturnix quail run hotter than chickens, with body temperatures averaging 107 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes even a notch higher. That extra heat isn't just a biological quirk. It creates an environment inside the bird where Salmonella, the bacteria that worries every egg producer, struggles to take hold. Multiple studies tracking pathogen rates confirm the effect. Salmonella is found on only 0.1 to 1% of quail eggshells, compared to 1 to 5% for chicken eggs. That's a major drop in risk, not just a rounding error. This difference plays out around the world. In Japan, raw quail eggs are a breakfast staple, cracked straight over rice as tamago kake gohan, with no fear of illness. The science backs the tradition. The higher core temperature of Coturnix quail keeps the bacteria at bay, and the rapid turnover of eggs leaves less time for pathogens to multiply. While no bird is ever truly immune, the numbers tilt in favor of quail. Even the USDA notes the lower prevalence, though they still recommend cooking for safety in the United States. The reassurance is real. For backyard keepers and small farms, the Salmonella edge means less worry about hidden dangers in every carton. It's not a free pass. Good hygiene and clean housing still matter, but the baseline risk is lower. For anyone who's ever hesitated to try a quail egg or wondered about the safety of a tiny shell, the numbers speak for themselves. Curiosity bridge. But health isn't just about pathogens. The next chapter reveals how the behavior and instincts of Coturnix quail set them apart from every other backyard bird. Flush reflex. Every Coturnix keeper learns the same lesson, usually the hard way. Open a cage from the top and the bird does not run sideways. It launches straight up, like a bottle rocket. The stat: Coturnix quail can burst upward at speeds over 6 feet per second, a wild survival move called the flush reflex. In the wild, this vertical escape lets them dodge foxes and hawks. In a backyard setup, it means one careless moment can send a bird ricocheting off the ceiling or right out the door. The rule: always use front-opening cages. Forget the classic chicken coop with a hinged roof. For quail, top access is a hazard, not a convenience. Extension bulletins and seasoned breeders agree the safest way to handle Coturnix is to slide out a tray or open a small front door. This keeps the bird's natural panic response pointed away from freedom and toward a solid wall. The flush reflex is not just a quirk, it is a built-in safety valve, and it will not go away with taming or treats. Even calm, hand-raised birds will launch if startled from above. For new keepers, this means designing every pen, rack, or shelf with escape in mind. A single flush can cost you a breeder, a rare Celadon layer, or a week's worth of eggs. The fix: front opening access, gentle